TJ Sports Academy is a sports academy right here in Sylvan Lake, which I started 3 years ago. I run both basketball and football camps throughout the year. Spring basketball and spring football camps are opening for registration this Monday, February 26th. Both will start in April and run through May. This is a great opportunity if you're a youth age 6 to 18 or if you know someone that age to come and get trained by myself in a really safe, fun environment where we get better every single day. You can check out TJ's Sports Academy on Facebook. Registration link will be made available Monday, February 26th for both spring camps.
Most of us here will game plan for football, but won't financially plan out our lives. 1 in 4 Canadians are unable to cover an unexpected expense of over $500. This is due to Canadians currently having concerns over things like debt, cash flow concerns, retirement concerns, and possibly even job security. And for some of the young Canadians out there, they always wonder on what does it take or what does it look like to get started. My name is Omari Fraser, and I've been in the financial services industry for just shy of 10 years. I'm fortunate to be in a spot to where I'm able to help educate fellow Canadians on what you can do to move forward and get yourself in a spot that's going to take you to your financial goals. Feel free to reach out to me at 403-467-2306 or reach out to me on Instagram to get the conversation started and taking a look at what a financial plan looks like for you. Take care. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Alberta Football Uncensored. I'm your host, TJ Johannesson, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Omari Fraser. Omari, before we we have an awesome guest today. I'm really excited about this podcast. Something that I was almost kind of a wish when we first started this, and now it's kind of coming true. So I think this is going to be awesome, and we'll introduce him in a second. But for our pre-show chatter, Omari, I know this is a couple weeks past the time, but it's our first podcast since the Super Bowl. I don't want to talk about the Super Bowl. It is what it is. But I kind of do want to talk about the Travis Kelce and Andy Reid moment because I got are we on the high school? Okay, no, this isn't technically high school edition, so I can swear. I got really fucking annoyed with the things that I was hearing from people that do not understand football with any amount of knowledge whatsoever. And it annoyed me because when I saw that, and I feel like you probably agree with me, Omari, and because you understand football. When I saw that, to me, that immediately told me that those two men have an incredible relationship with each other, because there isn't a chance on planet Earth that Andy Reid is going to, be okay with that unless that relationship is there. There's no way on planet Earth that Travis Kelce is going to do that to a coach like Andy Reid unless the relationship is there. And when there's no context and people who don't understand football, and even people that I was disappointed with certain people that did understand football. I saw two people that love each other intensely, that respect each other intensely, and that want to win just as intensely, which is why they continue to win. What were your thoughts on that? For me, it's just like whatever with the Taylor Swift stuff. I don't care. Whatever. More people are watching football. Good, but don't comment on football like you understand what's going on and start saying stuff like Travis Kelce's an abuser and can't control his emotions. It's the Super Bowl. It's the biggest game in the entire world, maybe besides the World Cup final, but the World Cup is just soft sport. Soccer is soft as hell. This is the Super Bowl. It is the biggest game watched by more people than anyone, and they're trying to win a championship, and Travis Kelce wants to win, and Andy Reid understands that. I was just annoyed. Did you have any thoughts on that when you saw it?
I saw it and I was just like, ooh, the guys are getting like they're getting heated, and I just knew from looking at him, like, oh, it wasn't malicious. He was just like, it was like that let's go, but like he pushed it to, I guess, as far as you can see, but like it just sucks because like the cameras caught it, but if the cameras didn't catch it, we wouldn't be talking about it. But I felt like it was you definitely like the relationship has to be there. Like if it was Kadarius Toney doing that,
Yeah.
it'd be a different conversation. But
Yeah.
he's one of those players too where like there's a relationship. He's someone who contributes, team leader. I just took it as
But
like
that's
these guys are really
yeah.
cool, and like I didn't see anything wrong with it. It's one of those things that I like in that moment for Travis Kelce and Andy Reid works perfectly fine. But now I just hopefully doesn't set a trend of youth amateur players trying to do it to their coaches, because then it's not going to end.
Okay. Excellent point here, because that is a great point. This would never be acceptable in youth sports ever, regardless of the relationship. But again, this is where context matters. These are two grown ass men. These are not a man and a child. These are two grown ass men. They are adults. They have been together for a very long time. This is why context matters. And this is what I think annoys me the most, because of course, and I think we're going to talk to a junior coach today. I don't think he would accept that from his players. I don't think that junior in high school, you spend enough time, honestly, these, 3-4 years max at times to even build those. But there is a little bit different of a relationship when it's a man and an adolescent, right? Or even a man and a young man. But these are two grown men. Like Travis Kelce's 35 years old and Andy Reid's been around for how long? So for me, I just wanted to kind of get that off my chest a little bit, even though it's a little bit past the time, because I love people that are competitive and that want to win, and I love the fact that when I see that, I see, hey, nobody who saw that is watching how these guys are in meetings, how they are in practices, how they interact with each other, how they hold each other accountable. Like, people just think that, oh, he's the coach, so he's good, he's the boss. That's not how it works in the NFL. That's not how it works with those two players. Like, Travis Kelce holds Andy Reid accountable, and Andy Reid holds Travis Kelce accountable. These are as close to equal as you can get, with Andy Reid being the guy that makes the final decision. But Andy Reid said it himself, right? So he wasn't a big deal. But anyways, we'll move on. I'm sure there are people that disagree with me like that. I do not condone that type of behavior for youth. Of course, that's a good point, Omari. But in that context, in that situation, I think it was nothing. I think it was two men that love each other, and it is what it is.
They wanted to win.
Yeah.
And they did win, which I think blows it over a bit in the media side as well. But I can think after that moment, I think you could tell the game plan shifted and all that, and Kelce got involved. But as well, San Fran was playing a great defense on Kelce. Like, it's it's all in the game of football.
Yeah, and context matters. Okay, we're going to get on to the episode. So we are so happy and pleased to have with us Okanagan Sun head coach Travis Miller, former AFL guy as well, which we'll get into. Travis, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. This means a lot to us in the podcast. I'm really excited to see where we go. Okanagan Sun, obviously, one of the most prestigious, well-known junior organizations out there, multiple national championships, and seems like every year they're competing. So first of all, thank you, and I'd like you to introduce yourself and kind of your brief football story, where you played, and then what kind of led you to being the head coach of the Okanagan Sun.
Yeah. Listen, I appreciate you guys having me on here. I kind of said it to you guys before, but I'm a big AFL guy, and obviously love Alberta football. I have a pretty standard, I think, coaching story. I started high school football in Grand Prairie, Alberta. Ended up playing 5 years of junior football for the Okanagan Sun, and then moved to the East Coast to play for the Acadia Axemen. After that, I moved back to Grand Prairie and started coaching my former team, like most guys do. And I was lucky enough to become the head coach for 5 years of that team. And then in 2020, I had the former head coach, Jamie Borum, reached out to me for the Okanagan Sun and asked me to be the offensive coordinator. So had the chance to move across back to, lovely Kelowna and begin my coaching journey there. So for 2021, I was the offensive coordinator. And then 2022 became the head coach, and 2023 as well. So kind of a brief rendition of what I went through.
Yeah, and Jamie Borum is now with Prince George, correct?
Yeah. So he's moved out to Prince George. He's the head coach up there and director of football operations, I think, is his title up there.
Yeah, I correct me if I'm wrong, but he's an ex-CFL guy, right?
Yeah. He played in the CFL for a number of years for Saskatchewan and a couple other teams. You bet.
Right, and I think he might have played for the old Abbotsford Air Force when his junior days, if I remember that correctly.
He did, yeah. He played for, I think, 3 U Sport teams and the Abbotsford Air Force in between.
Yeah, I need to give a quick shout out to the Abbotsford Air Force, everyone who's listening is probably like, who the hell are the Abbotsford Air Force? But The Abbotsford Air Force were going to be my first junior team. I actually got recruited by them out of high school. I went to Sands Secondary in North Delta, BC, and played there in my grade 12 year, and then got recruited to go play for the Abbotsford Air Force. And I showed up for spring camp, and they just had fired their head coach, and then they folded.
Yeah.
So then I went to play for the Edmonton Huskies. So, but yeah, they were a storied little franchise. They had a pretty good little run there. Devin Hand, who's an AFL guy, played there and on a really good team. So. Now they got Chilliwack Huskers are still out there too. So, cool. So I really want to kind of give players some tips of what to do when they're looking to play for the next level. So as a coach, can you kind of describe when you're looking for guys to bring into your group, what kind of players are you looking for?
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of cliches when it comes to recruiting players and what everybody's looking for. Character, people to stand out. Integrity, those type of things. But for us, it's really the hard work and work ethic that we're looking for players to come to our program. And we're not trying to be a junior football program. We're really trying to emulate a lot of the youth sport programs that are out there. So that work ethic component is such a big deal with kids that are coming out of high school and even kids that are leaving youth sport or other junior football teams to join us. It's that drive and that desire to win and that pushes them forward and progresses them. So that's really the key thing for us is finding players that want to buy in, will put the team over everything else, and have the work ethic that's going to drive them forward.
And when you're looking for that, how do you go about looking for that? Like, okay, let's actually talk about this first. So I'll break this down. How do you tell, or is there a way to tell a player's work ethic based on their highlight film that they send you?
Yeah, I think, it's funny enough. I think Nate Kettles actually hit on it a couple times when he was talking, and it's really about seeing that effort play by players. It's not, I was just talking to a kid the other day. I saw him show up on another another player's highlight film, and he was playing offensive line. And this other player was a running back was a halfback for a different team. And this offensive lineman, busts his ass downfield and goes and blocks the guy 30 yards downfield. And this kid ended up making the tackle, so that's why it was on the film. But the way that it worked out is you start to see this effort and this big sprint downfield by this individual, or you have other players who are on big long touchdown runs or blocking guys 30 yards, 40 yards downfield or setting things up. It's those type of plays that really set guys aside, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of football players that are very similar across the country and even North America. But it's about the ones that stand out, to the guys that really put the effort in and really show what they can do away from the ball.
Okay, so you mentioned something really interesting there that I've never thought of, that someone showed up on someone else's film. Have you ever directly recruited someone that didn't send you a highlight film, but that you saw on someone else's film?
Yeah, 100%. I think I would say
Really?
that,
That's crazy.
I would say that if you're not looking for other players while you're watching film, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? Because you're not seeing.
Huh.
You can see so many different things happening on a highlight film. And a lot of times, like, just using Alberta as an example, if you're recruiting a guy, say from like St. Francis, you're going to see Notre Dame, Ernest Manning, one of the other teams on there. And, we recruited quite a few guys actually from Red Deer recently. So we saw, guys from Hunting Hills playing Notre Dame. We saw them playing Cochrane. So we landed a few of those players as well too, or some Airdrie guys. So it's a unique thing to see players on other people's highlight films making plays, because it really shows that effort and that work ethic that we're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, and I think what it tells all players is treat every play like it's a championship winning play, because you just never know what play might end up on someone's highlight film that might be seen somewhere, because you can't send your highlight film to everyone, so you just never know. And I did want to, you did mention Red Deer guys. I know you just signed. He's actually a Sylvan Lake guy, and then he left us and went to Hunting Hills. But a really good kid, good quarterback, Merrick Philippek. I saw he signed with you guys. I know he listens to the podcast, so I'll shout out to Merrick. Really good quarterback, great release. As a D coordinator here in Sylvan Lake, was really tough to prepare for Merrick, and just how quickly he got the ball out. So I do want a quick side note on him a little bit. What did you see in him, and what are you excited about Merrick coming to your group?
You know what? Merrick's a great guy, and he just meeting him and getting to know him over the past few months. I saw him, at the Senior Bowl tryouts in Alberta. I actually almost screwed that one up. He had messaged me back in like September when he was at Team Alberta at the Canada Cup. and I totally ghosted him on the message, and I had every intention of messaging him back. And then here I am, like 3 months later, my tail between my legs. Oh, hey, Merrick. By the way, I'm still really interested in you as a player. And I was
Yeah.
expecting him to tell me to go pound sand, but instead he ended up taking my message, my call. Got to know his dad and his parents a little bit as well, and then he came out to Kelowna to see the facilities and everything. So, all four of those guys from Red Deer that came out here are high quality guys, and Merrick just fits in with the whole recruiting class that we're bringing in this year, which is great. And really we as a group, we're trying to find that continuity. So a lot of these guys, played together, whether it's Team Alberta or high school or whatever. And the continuity amongst the group is really, really neat. And Merrick's obviously a big part of that as well.
Yeah, and shout out to Cal Sedgwick down there, another former AFL guy, coached the Bucks, and doing a good job at Hunting Hills there, and former podcast guest. Also, when you recruit someone, for example, because of things that you've seen, like how hard they're working, or how a receiver going the extra mile to make the block, or whatever it may be, is that something that you make sure that you tell them, like, this is why we recruited you, so we expect this to continue? Because I feel like that would be something that you would do, because I feel like if I was told this is why I recruited you, this is one of the big things, I would feel so not pressured, maybe pressured. I don't think pressure is a bad thing, but I would feel really important to live up to the reason why I was recruited.
Yeah, I think feedback is 100% needed from the recruiting process through. And I think one of the things that we do well as a team is that we provide feedback to our players. The players definitely, we're definitely a vocal coaching staff. So from the moment that they arrive, in Kelowna, and whether it's spring camp or an off season camp, or even just any of our indoor training or anything like that, they understand the importance of that feedback loop of, hey, you're doing this right, continue doing this, or hey, this isn't quite correct. This is how you change it and you address it. And so from the time that the guys are recruited, they're very well aware of their good things, bad things, and how to improve.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that's helping people become self-aware is really important, and I don't think that's really talked about enough. Omari, you got anything for Coach?
Yeah, I think just to feed off what you said, that I know you said that, I guess you had a player you were texting, and unfortunately, I guess you ghosted them. Uh, I want to ask, how many text messages do you receive a day, or how big is your DM box right now? Because I bet as a coach, it's probably quite stacked. And if you had to give advice to the players, where say, hey, you may miss their message, uh, how would you like to be perceived, and just understand like your side of the ballpark?
Yeah, I think for our team in particular, I'm pretty much the point person for all messages, emails, texts, phone calls, everything. Fortunately, unfortunately, that means that the talent level, kind of flows through my inbox, whether it's Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, or some people have my cell, so it's text and calls. Right now I'm averaging about somewhere between 30 and 40 messages a day. I'm at about 135 messages unread on my Instagram, and even more on my Facebook right now. And it's obviously right in the middle of recruiting season and through that process. So one thing that I always tell players is that I will always get to them. It just takes some time, and sometimes that's 4 months after Merrick messaged me, or sometimes it's a week later. It just depends on how much time, because in this in junior football specifically, we also have full-time jobs. So it's you work from 7 to 5, and then after that you try to fit football in as best you can, and get back to everybody as best you can. So I can tell you that it's not done purposefully if I'm missing messages, and I can guarantee you that there's players that I've missed on just because they've been in the inbox. And there's some all Canadians that are playing. One of them in our conference for sure, that he was in my inbox and I totally missed it, and so I kick myself every day.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing too, with DMs and everything there. I think the big part too is just with being a coach that also has a job outside of it, because those hours that you spend on your other job, of course, you need to do that to take care of the bills and you know provide for your lifestyle. Um, what would you say your lifestyle would be like if you didn't have, I guess, your job, and you're able to fully sustain your lifestyle for you and your family just through coaching? Like, would you see a big change? And how do you think we can get to that point for coaching here in Canada?
Yeah, you know what? I think every coach has that dream eventually, right, of being, full-time paid, a paid coach. But, I think the reality is in Canada, that's a difficult thing just because we don't have the same viewership base or the same, fan base that they do down in the States. There's obviously some teams like the Lavals and Saskatchewan of the world that have, a consistent fan base can, pay their coaches, quite well. But I think in junior football, that's just not a reality that we're able to necessarily see anytime soon. Just given the fact that it's still a growing sport in Canada, and I think more now than even when I played 10, 15 years ago. Junior football is catching on because there's more and more players that aren't going to youth sports. They're not going to school. They're not looking to go that route. They're looking to do trades and really, get into the working world at a young age and be able to start their careers a little bit earlier than, 24, 25 years old. They're getting into the working world at 18, 19 years old. And those guys are becoming more and more prevalent. And I think the more that we have a trade shortage in Canada, you're seeing more guys really jump, headfirst into that. And the way the junior works, I think both you guys probably know this, is that you have those 2 free years of eligibility. So you see more and more guys taking advantage of that and then staying for their third or their fourth year so that they're able to develop and get a head start on that career. Because in most cases, junior football teams do have, apprenticeship opportunities. They have, in our case, we have scholarship money for that type of stuff to allow our players to really kickstart their career and get moving in that direction and really go into the working world a lot younger than maybe they would, if they were in a youth sport program.
Hmm. And that's one thing that I think is so beneficial too with junior football, just like being able to then go get work experience. And like for those who don't, if school's not a fit, like juniors football is so empowering there. And the age, here's an age old question that I know players will discuss. It's been talked before with other coaches in the past and in the future. Like when you look at youth ball football compared to junior football, how would you compare the two levels? Because the way I describe it is youth sport football is just there's that high level of dedication, and hence you see a lot faster play versus junior. How would you describe it when you talk to amongst your peers?
Yeah, you know what? That's a debate, I think, in the coaches' room after every game, after a few drinks. I think we get to that stage every week and we have that debate. We could play a youth sport team and we could do different things. And this is kind of how it boils down for us is first and foremost, we don't have the time with the players that the youth sport programs have. We don't have the time to watch film, get in the weight room, or build the continuity, the way that youth sport programs are able to do just by the fact that these kids are working for the most part, or some of them are living, in different parts of BC or Alberta or, Ontario or wherever they're from. And they're not always in Kelowna for the full season. So, from our perspective, we recognize that that's a big part of it and really sets that side of things apart. And I think, secondary to that is the O and D line play at the junior level. I don't think matches up to that of the U Sport level. When you watch a team like, I'll just use Saskatoon as an example, and they walk out with 6'3" and 6'6" offensive linemen across the board who are athletic and who have an understanding of what their responsibilities and stuff are on a weekly basis based off of the team they're playing. You can't really compete with that. On the flip side of that, I think a lot of the skill positions are, very comparable across the board. I think, in the last 3 seasons, we've had a quarterback move on and start at the U Sport level immediately. We've seen receivers move on, running backs move on and start and play immediately. We've been fortunate that we've had, quite a few players move on from our program in the last 3 seasons and really have success at the U Sport level, at the linebacker position, DB position, all those different things. So it's very, from our standpoint, we look at it and we recognize, they have way more time, way more resources, and they're able to accomplish that. And I think, like I said, that line play is substantially different at that level than it is, in the junior football level.
Absolutely. And a last point before I'll pass back to Tej is my brother just finished up his I guess 2 years ago now, his time with the Dinos. He was playing D line and he was remember going into this got that game week being like I was like, I remember watching it and I was like, that guy he's playing against is like at least, 6'5", 6'7", 300 pounds. And our brother's, 6'3", 260. And he's developed too. And I'm like, man, like, and their line too is the entire line, which I'm just like, man, that's quite a challenge. And he he definitely had to work for his stats that game. But no, I get you on that. And It's very similar to what you hear in the States and everything. The line play is so crucial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I've never we've always kind of thought of it in the AFL, like AFL versus junior teams, and I'm sure that junior teams think about university. It's like when people try to compare, teams from this generation to teams from that generation. It's always tough, but I think there are certain things that I would agree with you there, Travis. That just watching the line play and I think the time is a big part of it, right? The meetings, the film, and the preparation. I just think is you just can't compete with the preparation that they're able to have at the U Sports level. So Kelowna Sun or Okanagan Sun, based in Kelowna, been around for obviously a very long time. You mentioned that you've played for them for 5 years, and now you've coached for a few years. You've won a national. Did you win a national as a player or just as a coach?
No, actually, I was during probably the worst time to be an Okanagan Sun player because we didn't even win a conference championship in the 5 years that I was there. So
Okay. So, but you did win as a coach. That counts. So,
that's
but
right.
very story program. So you've been a part of it. You kind of understand the culture. Is there, if you could describe the Okanagan Sun culture and what would it be? And have you taken a lot from what it was like when you were a player, moving forward, even though maybe you weren't as successful on the field, but have you really kind of moved that forward, or have you kind of created your own thing, or kind of a mixture of both?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great question. So I'll answer that by saying, the history of the Okanagan Sun and the storied legacy that the team has had is pretty impressive over the 40 plus years that we've been around. There's been, a few key people that have been around the organization. I think Les Weiss is, one of those, Ray Wheatley. And there's a whole bunch of different people that really set the tone and the culture for the program over the last, number of years. The first thing I did in 2022 when I took over as head coach is I took all of those trophies and I took all of the pictures down. I took all of the nostalgia stuff away because I was so tired of hearing about how good the Okanagan Sun were in the 2000s. And since
Mm.
2000, the only time we had won a conference championship was 2015. And so, 22 years since we had won, 2004 was the last time we'd won the conference prior to 2015. But, two times in 22 years, we'd won the conference. And so for me, it was really important to reset that culture, and maybe reset isn't the right word, but move past it and start to look towards the future. And we all embrace that as a coaching staff, as an organization, the board of directors, the team. Everybody really took that and said, you know what, we need to set a new direction this year and not forget our past, but not use that as a reason why we're so successful, and
Mhm.
really move the organization forward into the next phase. And obviously that paid off in 22, and we had an extremely good team in 2023. Unfortunately, we came up 2 touchdowns short, but it's been a really great culture shift for the organization. And I think the more players we have come through our program now that are 2022 and going forward, they understand that new culture, that new dynamic, and what we're trying to accomplish.
Mhm. And what years did you when were you a player for them?
I was a player in '05 to '09. So after we lost the national title to the Huskies in Edmonton, and then
Right.
we
Good old Nathan Aldred.
yeah, that's right. We hit the Andrew Harrison
Yeah.
alone after that. Nathan
Yeah.
Aldred, one of my good buddies from the Grand Prairie Driller days. Um,
Yeah.
Simon Fowl as well too, another good Grand Prairie
Yeah.
boy, and then a lot of other guys. Brad Chamberlain and Dustin Absassin and a whole bunch of dudes that played for that team in '04, which was and '05. Actually, they won back to back, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I played for them when they were not very good at all, but I was shortly after those years where, you win everything and then your whole team basically goes to crap for a few years. But, Nathan Aldred, Simon Fell, man, those when I first came into the AFL, man, those guys were pretty much unstoppable. I mean, like you guys in Grand Prairie would show up for a road game with 17 dudes and just kick the shit out of everybody.
Yeah, it was
Like,
wild. It was
it
a
was just
rodeo. Yeah, it was a good time.
oh man, you guys were just and like you kind of just did it and it felt like you weren't even trying. And Nathan Aldred was just the most slippery fuck, man.
Yeah,
Just very frustrating guy
yeah,
to play against. It's really disappointing what happened to him and he couldn't play as long as obviously he would have liked to. But what a great player and what a good time for the AFL in
that's
Grand
right.
Prairie.
Yeah.
Um so what this might be I'm sure you have many, but what are your three biggest non-negotiables for players in your team? So like, what is just like something that you're like, you see it, it's just like, no, that's not what we do here. That's not how we act. That's not how we behave, whatever it might be. Or maybe it is certain things that you are supposed to do. So what would you say are your kind of three biggest non-negotiables in your program?
Yeah, so you asked me that, prior to the podcast today, and I was debating on, all the different kind of things that I've looked at, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that, when it comes to non-negotiables, really it comes down to holding yourself accountable. And I think one of the issues that we've had in the past on our team is that, and I'm definitely guilty of this, is letting guys get away with things that maybe I necessarily shouldn't be. And so we've really tried to change that as part of our program, and making sure that those accountabilities are such an important part of what these guys do, that that's really become the non-negotiable one thing with our program. And that kind of covers a whole bunch of things. So it could be anything from, working out to, effort in practice to, penalties in a game. And it's a very easy way to say, hey, are you holding yourself accountable? Are you putting the team over everything? And that's kind of how we've approached that. It's more of a, gives us a little bit of opportunity to kind of lump a few things in there. But what it comes down to is that self accountability, and making sure that you're able to say, hey, you know what, I screwed up, or hey, you know what, I didn't do this right. I need to change my attitude, or I need to change my direction, or what I'm doing. And I think by emphasizing that, it really has helped everybody fall in line into what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish as a group and as a team.
I really love that actually, and I've never heard it put that way, so I appreciate that. I think lumping those things in there where like our non-negotiable is you hold yourself accountable. And now we talk about what holding yourself accountable means. And then there's like 8 branches that come out of that. Right. So it's one thing as far as like, you hold yourself accountable, but then that becomes, 8 or 9 or 10 different things. And I like that because it keeps it simple. And it just becomes a part of who you are when you show up to be a member of the Okanagan Sun. How much do you use, or maybe even if you don't use directly, but how much do you think goes into the players who come to the Sun? Because everyone that comes is going to at least know a little bit about the history of the Sun, and being a part of the Okanagan Sun is a pretty cool thing. It's a pretty special thing, I would think. Do you use that history on your side to kind of be like, this is a privilege to be here?
You know what? I try not to, because I try to look at it like every year is a little bit different. You're gonna have different players, different leaders, different captains, different coaches, different board members from that level. And so when I'm recruiting, yeah, we obviously won the national title in 2022. We had a very good team last year. When Coach Borum was here, we had a very good team as well too. So, I mean, when I'm recruiting, my biggest thing that I try to stress with our players is that you got to come here ready to work and ready to, buy into what we're doing now today, going forward, because, the track record that we have obviously is success. But it's based off of the fact that we have guys who are putting in the work, who are putting in the effort, holding themselves accountable, and really pushing that needle forward. And I try to, do we talk about it? Sure, a little bit in that recruiting process, but I try not to make that the point of emphasis when I'm recruiting a player, because, you know, when it comes down to it, the past success of the team, from 2000 to 2014 or whatever, the previous years until they went back to the national title, really is irrelevant to a kid who wasn't even born at that time. And so they're more concerned with, and I'm more concerned with, what they're going to add to the program today and what they're going to do to push the program going forward, understanding that the benchmark is quite high with the program.
Yeah, I think maybe I worded that wrong. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't mean the history of success. I mean, winning is what winning is. You're right. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for the Huskies that they won back-to-back national titles in 04, 05. I think more what I meant was maybe like what's the word? Like the nostalgia of the
Right.
Sun. Like you are a member of the Okanagan Sun. This is a team that's been around for 40 years. There have been we're taking winning out of it. There have been players that have, I think to Jeff Halverson. I'm not sure if you were around at his time.
Yeah.
Players that have put on these pads and yeah, and passed away. And you actually had his son out there with you
Yeah.
last year. Gavin is a kid that I've coached since he was 8 years old, and here in Sylvan Lake, and I'm I actually got to play with him last year on the Bucks, Gavin Halverson. So,
Yeah.
but that's kind of more what I mean. Like just just kind of like be proud and understand what the Okanagan Sun mean and what they are and the history of the team.
Yeah, for sure. I think,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think 100%, I think you definitely have to relate back to the people that have been here before and what they've done to sacrifice to get the program to, where it's at. We definitely pay homage to that. We are very, as an organization, we're definitely ones that remember everything that's kind of come in the past. And when players do join our team, like when you come up into our clubhouse, every player that's ever graduated from our program has signed the wall. So they put their name up there, their number, the years that they played, if they had some accomplishments, pardon me, those type of things. So we definitely live in that world where it's, taking that new age drive and desire to win and move obviously win football games and move forward. And then we pair it with the fact that we've been doing this for 40 plus years and have players, across where we have NFL players that have been on our team. We have a ton of CFL players and obviously, lots of youth sport players. And so there's a lot of that history when you come to our clubhouse, which our facility is definitely top notch. And it's really cool to walk into our clubhouse and see the history and understand what it's like to be a part of the legacy of the Okanagan Sun, for sure.
That is great segue to my next question. So I want you to kind of take this now moment to, not that you need to sell the Okanagan Sun, but to sell the Okanagan Sun. So talk to me about that facility that you just mentioned. I know, for me, I like nice things. Omari can tell you I like nice jerseys. I like nice benches. I like having room so I can put my entire, medicine cabinet of essential oils and Shilajit and methylene blue and all the little supplements that I like to take. Most of you have no idea what I'm talking about, but they're all natural. Don't worry. Nothing bad goes into my body. And Omari can tell you that that's a true story, but I like that space. So talk to me a little bit about, your facility, the town of Kelowna, the community and the community support that you guys get.
Yeah, I would gladly speak on that. So first off, Tej, I know you like to golf. So when you're in Kelowna next golfing,
Love it.
We'll definitely take you for a tour in Omari. If you're down here in Kelowna, we'll definitely take you for a tour of the clubhouse. It's definitely a crown jewel for our program, and we're extremely proud of the clubhouse that we've built over the last 20 plus years. It did burn down in 2007, and then it was rebuilt. And we've been very fortunate because we have a gentleman. We've had a number of people who have really put effort into the clubhouse, but Eric Party has been a huge part of turning that clubhouse into what it is today, and Ray Wheatley and some of the other people who have been involved, Terry Britton. So when you walk into that clubhouse, we have 77 lockers, and we have 85 players on the team. So we have a number that get doubled up, which are our rookies, which are a specific pod within the clubhouse itself. Everybody else gets their own lockers. Obviously there's a cubby to put all your medicine and everything you need to put up there. So you can really spread out, area up above for your helmets and your shoulder pads, and then standard locker, which is really, really nice, made out of maple and, quite nice that way. Good shower facilities, lots and lots of mirrors, so you can always look good. We got blackboards and whiteboards up there, so you always know what our practice plan is, depth chart, special teams, those type of things, so that you're ready and prepared before practice when you walk on the field. We got 3 60-inch TVs up above in the clubhouse so that guys can watch NFL, CFL, any sort of games they kind of want to watch before practice. And then those get converted into the defensive film sessions that happen before every one of our practices. There's 3 of them. So you have linebackers, DBs, and D-line that get to split up upstairs. We have a classroom down below on the lower level of our clubhouse where the offense goes down, which is also our coach's room, which is a great space to watch our film before every practice. Our locker room is definitely the players. The coaches don't tend to spend a lot of time up there. We give it to the players and give them that opportunity. They got a player lounge area with another TV that they get to hang out in. A lot of times it's hooked up to FIFA and 2K and all these things. They get to beat all the coaches on consistently because they never play Madden. I don't understand it. They're playing NHL. They're playing other sport, but Madden. Yeah, it's crazy. And they play on the PS5 or whatever it is. They don't play Xbox anymore. So I'm way out of date now. So I get.
Oh man, that's crazy. I'm with you on that. I'm Xbox and Madden, and I do throw a little PGA 2K24, whatever. I like a little golf video game sometimes.
That's right.
Calm me down.
I'm getting better at Fortnite. My son loves to play Fortnite, and so he's teaching me how to do that. So I'm working my way through that right now. But yeah, we got our player lounge area, which is a great place for the guys to hang out. There's a fridge up there that quite often has food in it for the guys before practice. We got our athletic area, our athletic training area, Club Med they call it, where we got our cold tub, our ice machines. It's where our athletic therapists tape and work on guys before practice. We have a team physiotherapist, Roy Gillespie, who shows up every day, or sorry, a couple days a week, and he works on the guys in that training room, which is phenomenal. And then we get into our equipment room, which is obviously a big part for everybody. And we're very fortunate. We're an Under Armour sponsored team. So last year we got all brand new Under Armour jerseys. So we got brown, white, and orange jerseys, brown, white, and orange pants. So it's some pretty cool combinations that we get to work out throughout the season. We're really transitioning over to the Speed Flex helmets right now. So we're ordering 18 or so of those every single year to try to repopulate that helmet group. And then so for some reason guys love the F7s as well too, so we bring in a couple of those every year to kind of supplement what we're trying to ship out. So from our standpoint, when it comes to the players, we definitely want to make sure that they're looked after. And being a former offensive lineman, that our team is eating well all the time. Whenever it comes to our team meals, we have lasagna every Friday, lots of meals on Saturdays for the guys, breakfast, lunch, and dinner on game days. When it comes to travel time, guys are looked after. They love going up to Prince George just because of all the food they get to eat, throughout the weekend. They're looked after big time.
Don't lie. Nobody loves going to Prince George.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. Well, for us, it's been
come on.
We've had some really fun trips up there. I'll tell you that. So it's been good for us.
I'm just kidding, Prince George, Kodiak. So you guys are fine. Everybody loves Prince George. I was joking.
Coach Forum and that team, they treat us really well. They have a great hotel up there, and we're very fortunate that way. But you know what? From our perspective, we try to look after our guys that way. Between the clubhouse, the jerseys, all the equipment, we're trying to make sure it's top of the line, state of the art stuff. We want to make sure they're looked after with our physios and athletic therapists that are out at practice every day. And then ultimately, Kelowna is a beautiful city. I mean, you can't, I don't know that you can beat Kelowna. There's not a whole lot of cities that are, as beautiful as Kelowna is. Being that I'm from Alberta, I definitely understand the difference between, different parts of the country and where I'm at now. So beautiful city, beautiful facilities. And then obviously, I'm sure everybody feels this, but for me, the fan base here in Kelowna is something special. And we're getting anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 people out to our games on a weekly basis, and the support that we've had is just incredible. Like, you go into the community and you wear your Sun logo, and everybody knows who you are. They know what you represent. 90% of them know who Les Weiss is because he's been around since almost day one, and everything kind of falls in line. And it's really great getting that support from the city and the fans, as well as just the community as a whole, which has been a huge reason why we've been successful over the last 40 plus years.
Yeah, I used to. Well, I haven't been to Kelowna a lot in my life. I grew up in BC. I played minor football in BC, and then before I moved to Alberta, and then back to BC for my grade 12 year. But I played in North Delta and also for the Mission Niners, a community team in BC, and we went to Kelowna and played they were actually called the Kelowna Sun. The midget team there was called the Kelowna Sun as well, right. And I always loved it there. Just the beauty of the lake and just the atmosphere around it. And then I was back there for the first time, probably first time in 15 years when I went last year and played in the Kelowna Bowl, the touch football tournament that's there every year.
Mabel.
So I went up there with a team from Edmonton and stayed there. I actually stayed in Vernon. But the drive from Vernon to Kelowna might be like one of my most favorite drives I've ever taken. Like, it was phenomenal, and I enjoyed it out there. And if something ever opens up down there, Travis, my wife's a teacher, so we can basically move wherever as long as there's a teaching job. So keep me in mind if you ever need like a
school district 23
with your DBs.
That's right, school district 23. Tell her to start dropping resumes. It'll be quick.
It'll be quick. Okay, she's listening. I think she's listening over there. So
she's
very good.
That's right.
Oh, school district 23. They need teachers down there bad, babe. Okay. All right. So that's good to know. Because it is phenomenal. And I did golf when I was down there, Travis, and oh my goodness, the golf courses there are just unbelievable. Do you golf?
You know what, man? I hate to say this, but I am so bad at it that I can't bring myself. I love to drive the carts and I love to have some drinks at the time.
Stop.
I'll play with
I
just
love
my
the try.
irons. I'll just play with my irons. I can't drive. I can't use the driver worth anything. I could be standing like looking as far as I can to the left, and I'll still hook that ball to the right. Doesn't matter.
I'll drive the car. Travis, can't is a weasel word, my man, and you know that. You would never tell your
You're right.
kids that
I
they can say
won't.
can't.
I won't embarrass myself anymore.
There you go. I like that. Well, I'll tell you what, if I do come down there and you take me for a tour, at least come do 9 holes with me and drive the
100%.
cart.
100%.
Okay. Talk about your expectations this season. So obviously you're in the middle of recruiting season. You came off a national championship 2 years ago. You lost in a national championship to another perennial powerhouse team, Saskatoon Hilltops, this year. I'm sure that's motivating you guys to get back to winning. What are your expectations this year, and what are you really excited for with the upcoming season?
Well, we actually lost in the semifinals to West Shore. They actually were able to they beat us.
Oh, that's right. It was janky. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that's right. Dexter and his team, they ended up winning. So they ended up losing to Saskatoon by a touchdown. So I mean, it's always great to see that close game and everything like that when it comes to it. So my expectations of 2024, I think, are the same as the last two seasons, and that's to be highly competitive the entire season. And I don't think it's fair to come out and say every year you're going to win the national title until you see what you have in spring camp. And for us, we're trying to bring in the best players that we can possibly bring in, and we're highly committed to winning this season, as we are every season. But this season in particular, we have a really great group of returning players. We graduated our entire D line, but when it comes back to everything else, we've been very fortunate with the guys that we have coming back. So we have a guy by the name of Elia Noah who's going to be, if he doesn't go pro this year, he'll be joining us. And he was a Division I running back down in the States. Our quarterback has a live arm. He's something we were missing last year is having that electric arm, which is great. Our receiving group is incredible, and we're bringing back some of the best players out of that group. Our O line is looking strong, and from a defensive perspective, we have some really key guys back at the DB position, linebacker position. And then we got to fill some holes on the D line, which soon enough we'll be announcing some of those guys. So from our perspective, it doesn't change. It's about winning, and it's about building this team, and being competitive week in and week out. But after spring camp, we'll really have an idea of where we're at and what we have to do to put us over the top for 2024.
Yeah, and I apologize. I did actually know that it was West Shore that made the finals, and then I believe Dexter, now he's off to York.
Yeah. What an
Yeah.
incredible thing. Yeah, he's off to York University, which is, it's phenomenal to see, your peers getting those opportunities, but seeing, junior coaches, and there's some really great junior coaches that are out there, getting those opportunities to move to the U Sport level, which, hasn't happened for a number of years, especially at the head coaching position. Actually, I think one of the last ones was when Mike McLean left the Edmonton Huskies in York as well too. So it's kind of a unique thing in that regard, and so it's nice to see. Dexter's a great guy. He's an Okanagan Sun alum as well too. So it's great to see him take that opportunity and run with it.
Yeah, it really is, and that just goes to show you he's put some good work in and done good things, and I think that's kind of the message of this podcast too. Is like, do good things, work hard, and people will notice you, and you may not even know the people that are going to notice you. I find the universe works in mysterious but good ways when you do the right things and you go about your business the right way, and you treat people the right way and you show up to work the right way and you work the right way. I find that, and you watch film the right way. I find that opportunities come knocking. So good for him, and it'd be excited to see him kind of hopefully turn that program around and kind of shine some light on the junior program as well. Because you're right, there are great coaches and great players, and I think oftentimes maybe they get missed because people don't maybe understand the quality that is junior football. Why do you coach? So and if you're obviously, you get into coaching for different reasons than, you stay in coaching. So you've been coaching for a long time. You clearly love coaching. If you were to sum it up, why do you coach and what do you, taking winning out of it? Obviously, I think we're all competitors and being part of that is a big part of it. But taking winning and competing out of it, why do you coach and what do you love the most about it?
You know what, TJ, I thought about this question quite a bit, and I got to be honest with you, winning is the number one thing for me. And I think sometimes, coaches get caught up in the character building, turning men and boys into men, and, maturing kids and all those things. But, for me in particular, it really comes down to winning football games because it is the culmination of so much hard work that goes in on a weekly and yearly basis. And when you have that win, it's not just about the fact that you bested another team or that you got the W or you got the 2 points, whatever. It's about the fact that the effort and the workmanship and everything that you put in throughout the week, the month, and the year leading up to that exact point has paid off. And I look at it from a perspective of, I do football 24/7, 365. I'm always, 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 in some capacity doing something when it comes to football. And when those wins come, that the reason we're winning is because the character of our players, the hard work, the work ethic, all of the effort that they put into those games finally paid off. And I can't put into words, and maybe nobody can really put into words, the feeling you get when you see your players do something incredible, like when you get an interception for a touchdown, or you score a big touchdown, or you make a great block. It's like one of those feelings that every single time you see it, you want more of it. And so, from my perspective, maybe it's not necessarily the winning isn't the right word, but it's that feeling of accomplishment. It's the feeling of, hey, this is working, or the effort that you're putting in is finally paying off. And for me, that's the epitome of coaching.
So I find that answer fascinating, and I think it's interesting because I didn't, when I asked you this question, when I sent it to you over Facebook in our kind of pre-bullet point, I didn't have the part about outside of winning. I like to kind of add things, and so we get kind of off the cuff as well. And I really appreciate that answer because I think what I've always said is I don't like to get married to results. I don't like to judge. For example, I'm a basketball coach as well, and I don't like to judge a possession based on if the ball went in or not. I like to judge the possession on if the shot was a good decision, and then the shot will go in when the shot goes in. I think kind of what you're saying, and I would actually I agree with you 100%, is the best part about coaching, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I just kind of wrote this down as you were speaking. The best part of coaching for you is having a group of people that have the exact same goal, which is to win, and going through all the things that you go through as a team, which is preparation and film and adversity and heartache and ups and downs, and character building and adversity and all that stuff. And then finally, and like you said, seeing your kids reach that goal and celebrate that goal together, understanding that you all went through the same stuff together to get to the goal, and the goal is winning. Is that kind of fair?
Yeah, we call it embracing the suck. And I think, at the end of the whole thing, you put in all this work and effort, and it's exactly what you're saying. It's the culmination of all that effort of everybody from the practice roster player to that all Canadian starting guy who put in that effort throughout the offseason and the week, paying off in the game that we're all trying to do, and accomplishing that play or that game or whatever it is. And then we call it winning.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's a fantastic answer. And I think it's hard. Sometimes, we do this podcast a lot, and obviously we ask, similar questions and different questions. That's a really cool answer, a really unique answer. And I like the way that you kind of phrase that. And because I think that just makes a lot of sense. We definitely don't coach or play to lose. Winning is fun. And I know the greatest moment of my football life was winning a championship with the Bucks. I spent 11 years with that team before we were able to cross the line, and I did it with people that I loved and cared about and had sacrificed not just that season, but the unique thing about the AFL, which is different than, pretty much every level of football, maybe besides pro, but even in pro, you're getting traded and stuff like that. But you do get to spend 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years playing with the same people. And it took, in some cases, it took me 11 years with the same dudes to get to that point. 11 years of work and sacrifices and everything we went through, not to mention all the alumni that meant a lot too as well. So yeah, I really appreciate that answer. And I think that really sums up what sports is all about. You have a group of people with the same common goal who go through the same stuff to get to that point. So really cool. Omari, anything else for Coach before I move on to some coaching questions?
Yes, of course. I wanted to dive into, you've been one to touch on the recruiting class. Chaz, I know you're I know you're an Alberta guy and everything, and then I'm pretty sure one question that I'm sure all the junior teams here have is, how do you guys keep pulling from, I guess, the Alberta talent pool over to BC and seeing that? And, you know, is there something that you guys put an extra effort to seeing the talent that Alberta has and making sure they see what life is like in Kelowna? Because I'm sure the Colts, the Huskies, the Wildcats are always looking at it and being like, all right, how is this guy getting all of our players in our area? And, you know, me as a Colts alumni, I'm sure my the current staff would love to know, but I'm sure for kids who see that, what do you have to say to that for them that see that on a daily basis?
Yeah, you know what? I honestly think there's probably a lot of reasons why kids decide to go in different places. I know in some situations, kids just want to get out of get out of Alberta or get out of the city that they're at to go play somewhere else. And Kelowna as a city doesn't suck, as we all know. It's a beautiful place to put your hang your hat for a little bit and play some football in the summertime and obviously get to hang out on the beaches and all those things. But for me, I think one of the draws for a lot of these guys coming to our program is that we're not looking for 5-year guys. It's wonderful when guys come to our program to play for 5 years and they do that, but that's not our specialty and that's not what we want to try to be. We want to be a program that comes and develops players as quickly as they can develop as a person, mature, maybe it's academically or athletically, and get to a point where they can go play U sport. And I think for every player, the dream is to get to that U Sport level, and then the next dream is to get to the CFL or even levels higher. And so for us, I know the key for us is that we just want to bring players in, develop them as long as it takes for them to develop. Is it 1 year or 5 years, whatever that works out to be, and then give them every opportunity to get to that U Sport level and support them when they want to go. And I think, if anybody that's listening from, our program, the more guys that we have go to U Sport, the better it is for everybody. And I think, this past year in particular, we had a number of players get the opportunity to go to U Sport. And it's sometimes it's tough because you see players that you are quite close with, or you feel very, very aligned with. But then other times you see them, go to U Sport, and like watching Dom Britton play for the UFC was really, really cool for me because I got a chance to coach him for 2 seasons, and obviously we won a national title together. But it was equally as cool to see Daniel Townsend as the left tackle for that same team who also play for us. And so it really comes down to, the fact that we're willing to give young guys shots and opportunities on our team and also to support them when they want to leave. And I think guys see that and they enjoy it and they want that opportunity.
Yeah, and to add, I play flag football here in the flag league here in Calgary with Daniel Townsend. He's always a mismatch over the middle. We do a center release, line release, and he's
Don't tell him that. His ego is going to go through the roof.
he loves the Moss guys over the middle, and then I think the amount of first downs he's gotten us over just line release has been quite high. So I think for one game he was our leading first down guy, so he was loving it.
He's a special dude. Him and James Stockwood in 2021, every Saturday I used to host a breakfast for different position groups. So every Saturday morning they'd come over and have breakfast at my house, and then we'd obviously play our games in the afternoons and stuff. And so they came over for one Saturday and then they never left. And then just every Saturday they would come over and they would sit down in my living room and they would talk football and youth sports, and they'd stay till 1 or 2 in the afternoon at a 7 o'clock game. They'd be there for 4 or 5 hours eating me out of house and home, and then they would go play in a football game. And funny enough, both guys are not kids anymore. Both men are up for the draft this year, which is incredible. They're both going to the combine, and it's such a cool feeling to see those guys just go through their dream and see it, and now they're getting to recognize it. So unique.
That's good. So what I'm hearing is you're about to send the food bill here in a few months.
That's right. Yeah. Once they sign pro, 100%.
Yeah. Pancakes, ribeyes, sirloins. Yeah, here we go.
Right.
No, that's awesome. And when you look at, I guess, kind of the next steps for the team, the players, things that you like to implement as like your legacy with Okanagan Sun, what do you think that is for you?
Oh, you know what? That's a tough question. I don't think I care about my legacy whatsoever. If this was my last year as the head coach of the team, I would look back fondly on the last 3 years. But for me, it's not about legacy. It's about, each individual year and trying to, field a competitive team and really try to, benefit the guys that we have year in and year out.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That's awesome to hear. TJ, anything that you have for our next part?
Yeah. I want to switch gears a little bit here with you, Travis. Obviously, you're a former AFL guy. That's where I first met you along the way. It's really cool for me to see former AFL guys, yourself, Dan Craig with the Calgary Colts, moving on and continuing to be a part of football and getting high profile jobs. Do you have any good AFL stories you'd like to share? Any gems during your time with the AFL? This will be marked explicit, so you're allowed to say literally whatever you want.
Oh man, you know what? I have so many, and there's so many that you can't say. I mean, I spent a lot of time at Billy Bob's in Red Deer? Spent a lot.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, you did.
I
Yeah,
spent
Billy
quite a few
Bob's is no
nights there.
longer around, but yeah.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. We tried to go back. Had I think a funny story I had in 2011, 2010. So I was getting ready to play U Sports for the first time, and there was a guy named Todd Seeley. I don't know if that name rings a bell with you guys, but
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
the Steel Man, Todd Seeley. So he moved back to Grand Prairie. He was still in Grand Prairie at the time, and I was getting ready to go to U Sport, and I just finished, graduated junior and get ready to go. And I'll never forget it. He comes up to me and he goes, "So you're gonna go play U Sport?" I'm like, "Yeah. I actually got a really good offer. I got a full ride scholarship. I'm gonna, probably get a chance to play." And he proceeded to spend May, June, July, and part of August absolutely destroying me every single day in practice until, I would just say, "Can we not go up? Like, just don't go up against me." But it was such an imperative part of my career because it benefited me so much. When I went to U Sport that year, I ended up started every game, and so came back in the off season in 2011. And at this point, I'm probably about, I'm 6 foot on a good day, but I was probably about 280, 290. And we had a whole bunch of players come out for that season in 2011. And the Drillers were, obviously, pretty good that season. And we, ran the table during the regular season. So we have this great team, and all these linemen, and Trevor Pritchard, who's the head coach, is like, "You know what, Trav, I'm going to put you at fullback." So I got to play fullback, and I led the league in touchdowns from 1 yard out, eight 1 yard touchdowns. I think I had 7 first downs and -1 yard rushing kind of thing. So it was,
Yeah.
it was just such a fun year playing football. But anyway, so three weeks left in the season, and I'm sitting there and I'm posting all these videos about, catching touchdowns and running for 1 yard and getting my knees blown out by guys just, cutting me down. And all of a sudden I get a call from my university head coach. His name's Jeff Cunningham.
Oh,
And he goes, "Trav, how you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, great, coach. How you doing?" He goes, "Oh, you know what? I've had better days." I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" He goes, "Well, you're just killing it as a fullback, eh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's great. You want me to play fullback?" He goes, "No, no, 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 not at all. In fact, how much are they paying you to play for the men's league team?" I'm like, well, nothing." And he's like, "And how much am I paying you?" I'm like, "Oh, I know where this is going." He's like, "Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be playing men's league." And I'm like, "Oh,
yeah.
I couldn't say it anyway at that point." So I was done for that year. And then 2011, 2012, or 2012, 2013 came back and played a couple more years. And Omari, do you remember the first time you and I met? Do you remember where that happened?
Yes, it was through the ABC Bowls.
That's right. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, you look back, right? And the reason I bring that up is because you look now and you fast forward and you have guys like, Jesse Maddox is on our coaching staff. He works with us, and you have Dan Craig in Calgary, and you have all these other AFL guys kind of spread out across the league, just, impacting everything that's going on. And it brings me back to that ABC Bowl thing, because it was, unique in that it was I think it was unorganized and it was not necessarily what it should have been, but you show up on that day and you're like, the day before I was named the head coach kind of thing. And then all of a sudden here we are coaching in Calgary, and now talking, 10 plus years later, which is kind of funny and unique.
Oh yeah, it was such a time too, because I believe that's when we met in Kamloops, correct?
No. We were in Okotoks.
Okotoks, yes, it was on Okotoks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were doing the tries, and we were doing like that big tour of going like all around Alberta and everything. And man, like I always look back at that as like such a great time, because like I was so young in my coaching career, and like it was just one of those like things to do. It was like I was so cool just to be going around and assessing talent, and still at that time too, I was still playing Colts, so it
Yeah.
was such a neat time. And then I like it's always interesting to see like our journey and then how it intersects, and it's honestly one of the greatest things of life of just like seeing the road, seeing the journey, and how small of a community the football world is, but then also how big it is too.
Well, like I think for me in particular, the 2015 season is kind of one that I'll always remember because I was the head coach, I was the president, and we went to play the Stallions in Edmonton, and we showed up with 17 players, and so we go out and it's super embarrassing because I'm the president and the head coach, and they're like, "Oh, you only have 17 players." Like it was a Jeremy Mann. Is that who's running the team? He was like,
Yeah, that's Jeremy Mann. Yeah.
comes out, he's just talking so much shit to me, and he's like, they have like 45 guys, and like I'm sitting there, and just so happens that 3 of the guys on my team were guys that were from Acadia. I played with them at Acadia, so we're all kind of sitting there, everybody's stewing and mad. So I end up playing receiver. I'm like at this point I'm probably like 90 pounds playing receiver. Ty Bissett, who's in Airdrie now, is playing.
He's an Airdrie now, yeah.
Yeah, playing quarterback for us. I caught like 3 balls for 70 yards or something. Caught the onside kick to win the game, and I hit a point in the middle of that game where I was like trying to call the offense and I couldn't breathe. I was so out of shape. And I'm like man, I'm like friggin' Jackie Moon. I'm player coach president and trying to just keep this thing going. And we ended up beating them by like 10 points or something. It was wild. So there's so many
Oh, that
things with the AFL. Like, I don't think I'm the person, player, or coach that I am without the AFL. And I tell guys all the time, Gavin Halverson is a great example. I mean, he came to us and he was raw and he wasn't quite ready to play. And he goes back and rips it up as a running back. And now he's going to get a chance with, I think he's going to PG or something like that, where he's going to get a chance to play running back. He's going to have a great chance.
Yeah, he's going to Prince George, and like I said, I've coached Gavin throughout his high school career and even before that, and I couldn't say enough good things about that young man. Just an absolute gem of a human being. I've been so blessed in Sylvan Lake, honestly. I've had some really just unbelievable kids, but he really stands out. Him and I have always kind of had a special bond, and playing with him last year, one of the coolest things ever, like that the AFL has allowed me to do is, play with kids that I've coached for a long time. And he ripped it up, Travis. I don't know. I'm sure you
I watched all the film.
He just
watched it all. Yeah.
Oh,
killed it, man.
Just did so well. Was just never complains. Runs his ass off. Gets just leveled by just massive men. Gets up. Keeps going. Just a gem. I'm so excited for him to go to Prince George. And I saw him actually 2 weeks ago at our indoor workout, and he's looking good. He's put on some muscle. He's still quick as heck. So I'm looking forward to see him. And under Coach Borum, that'll be great for him, I think, as well. So yeah,
absolutely,
really cool.
One question I got for you, Travis, is now because I know around COVID time, like teams like kids didn't get to play and come out of it. Youth sport teams had to make cuts to their roster, which I think reflects to junior rosters and everything. And there's always that window of players who don't get opportunities at junior or university, and they come to the AFL league. What are some things that you would say to an 18, 19-year-old player who has goals of, hey, I want to progress my football career, but for right now I'm playing men's? What would be some things that you say to work on and that you would then like to see as a coach to recruit them from men's to then go to junior? Because I know that's a big question I always hear from guys.
Yeah. So first off, I think the AFL is a completely underutilized league that can be such a nice feeder to junior football. And maybe not so much U Sport, just because it does still count towards your eligibility at the U Sport level now with the being on a roster after 20. But the only reason that I'm who I am is because I got to start, 8 games a year at, in the AFL before I went and played junior, before I went to U Sport. Like I played probably an extra 40 or 50 games in my career during the 7 years that I played, just because I got a chance to play, AFL. I was coming home on weekends that I wasn't dressing for the Sun and playing games for the Drillers. So it's a completely underutilized league that guys don't take advantage of. And I mean this in the nicest way possible, but if you're an 18-year-old kid, getting bigger, stronger, faster, and getting a chance to play against grown-ass men is the best thing that you could possibly do to improve yourself. And I think if you're an 18-year-old or 19-year-old kid who didn't necessarily get recruited out of high school, if you aren't playing men's league and you still have a dream to play junior or university football, I mean, that's the thing to do it. Like I tell the story quite a bit. Like I was an awful high school player. I mean, I was probably extremely average, but below average or whatever. And the only reason that I was able to develop the way I was is because I got game reps on a men's league team. And there's no substitute for playing football. There's no way of developing without playing football. So if you're in that range and you're looking to, get yourself to that next level, it's not over. And getting the chance to play men's league and on top of it, getting a chance to work out, put on that weight, that's really the difference between high school and youth sport or junior. You have that league, you have that tool that you can use to improve yourself going forward. So, speed, strength, it's the standard that everybody needs to put on and work on, but the game reps is the biggest thing.
And then and when they put that in their film, what would you say would be, I guess this can also tie into like how you like to bring up see recruiting film as a coach, but what would you say would be some things now as that player, like, yeah, I had my season, what should they be adding in? And then as well, what do you like to see as a film guy reviewing players and everything?
Yeah, I think timing is a big thing. So, getting the film to us as soon as possible. And I know Nate talked about this as well too, but identifying yourself on that film before the snap of the ball. There's nothing more frustrating than watching film and not seeing the player until he's about to make a play. It's really, really frustrating because you got to see those intangibles like we talked about before, prior to the play starting to actually identify and assess a player. And I definitely, it's funny. Nate said the same thing as well, but speeding up plays, I've seen that more and more and more as of recent. I was watching a bunch of American film today and yesterday, and it's like, I've never seen a DN move that fast. And then I realized I'm like, I've also never seen a crowd clap that fast. And it's like, man, don't speed up your film because it ruins that whole thing. But for me in particular, it's about timing. It's about getting me the film, during the season or in the case of the AFL, it'd be great to get it, maybe 2 games in because that still coincides with our season. And you never know if you come in and you play, you blow, 2 huge games and you have a great 2 games in the AFL, you can still get recruited by junior teams until September. So, or sorry, October. So you still have a lot of time for that recruiting process to happen. And sometimes people fall through the cracks like we talked about. So I guess identifying yourself at the beginning, don't speed up your film and send it as much as you possibly can.
I said this last week. And maybe some heard and some didn't listen, but I don't understand why anyone would even think about speeding up their film because when you show up, you might get recruited, but when you show up and you're slower than you were on film, it's going to stand out right away. So it never makes any sense to me why people would do that in the first place. I just don't get it. I do not understand what goes through people's minds. I think I'm going to speed myself up and then I'm going to show up and I'm going to be slower than my film. No, I want to be, if anything, I'm going to slow my film down. And then I'm going to show up to camp and they're be like, wow, this guy's putting a lot of work. He's really fast. He's way faster than he was on film. So I don't know. I don't really understand it. You know what? And I appreciate you saying all that stuff about the AFL. I know this season, and Omari and I are going to start tackling the upcoming AFL season very shortly with our upcoming episodes. We're going to get into team previews. And so if you want to learn more about the AFL, this is the place to be. We're going to start really getting after that and talking about some crazy signings that have been happening. The AFL this year is going to be the strongest it's been ever, in my opinion. The Calgary Gators are signing Heck Crichton Award winners. The Edmonton Elite finally signed a really good quarterback, Edmonton Wildcats guy coming out of junior. So they've just always been missing a quarterback. Now they're going to have a quarterback. They're going to be very good. Cold Lake is signing every American they can possibly find. They're always going to be really good. Here in Red Deer, we're going to be sneaky. We got some really good talent. We're going to kind of fly under the radar, but we're going to be sneaky. They're in the Wolfpack with Omari. They've got a lot of young people coming up and raring to go. So this is going to be a year that's going to be really good. And it's not like you're not going against crappy football players in the Alberta Football League. You're going against grown men. If you are on the field in the AFL, you are playing against the other team's starters are guys who played university, who played junior. So these are guys that have already been through that and they've grown and they're physical. So it's like Travis said, it's a great opportunity to come in to get those live game reps against people. Oftentimes, they're going to be stronger than the guys that are in junior, because these are guys that have been through junior, they're mid-20s, and they've already played. So come try it out. There is a team near you. There's literally impossible to not be a team near you, unless maybe you're in Lethbridge, but there's teams everywhere. Grand Prairie just they folded for a couple years, but they're back and they're putting on a good show up there as well. Cold Lake, Edmonton, Airdrie, Calgary. I mean, you guys got 3 teams to choose from. So Omari, I'm going to give you a shout out. Go to the Wolfpack, everyone. They're getting new jerseys and I'm going to help design them. At least that's what Omari told me. So you better not be teasing me. But yeah. I appreciate you saying that, Travis, because it is a really good avenue for people. And like you said, Gavin Halverson took huge advantage of that last year. And I can promise you, when Gavin Halverson has done his career, people are gonna know his name. He is going to do very well, and he will, I'm sure, have a lot of thanks to the AFL for the success that he undoubtedly is about to have. So I appreciate that, Travis. I'd like to ask you some questions about coaching. So we're kind of getting near the end of our time here, but I did want to touch on this. I had a couple people, because we're talking about recruiting and players, but I did have a couple people, and I'm also interested as a coach myself. How do coaches go about looking at getting a job on a junior team? Are you looking at coaches to reach out to you? What are you looking for from people that you're looking to hire? Or is it kind of, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but is it kind of more of like a who you know personally? Or are you actively looking for different people? Or like what do you look for in when you're looking for coaches and people to bring into your group as a staff?
Yeah, you know what? We're looking for good people first. I think that's the number one thing. You want to bring in people that are going to be, good for the kids, the organization, and the other coaches that you have. Number one, when it comes to this level of football, and I think all the levels higher, there's a certain stigma about guys, wanting to start their career coaching. And I think the nice thing about junior football is it's not that far removed from high school, and it's not as professional as maybe the university requires. And so what I would say is, if there's people that are looking to coach, reach out to your local junior team. You never know what, assistant position might be open or what they're looking for. And I mean, we're always looking for always looking for coaches, because it's a volunteer job with our program. And with most programs, there's a small stipend in some situations, but it's not something that you're doing because you're getting paid. You're doing it because you love to do what you're doing. And, what I would say and what I would suggest to anyone is, number one, reach out, see what it is. You never know what you're going to get. We had 4 guys join the staff last year who are big parts of our team this coming year. And so, I'm definitely one of those coaches that is always open to having more than less. So if we have, 3 or 4 extra guys on the staff because they're good for the program, good for the players, it's not a bad thing to have those guys around. And I always encourage guys to come out to our spring camp and check it out. So, first weekend of May, T, do you want to come out, come hang out? Same with you, Omar. You guys want to come see what the program's about and what we're doing? Always welcome. We have tons of guest coaches that come out to those camps. They get a chance to coach, see how we coach, see how we run the program. And, for the most part, guys are leaving and they're going, hey, I'm going to implement this, or this is what we're going to do. And it's really, really great.
Yeah, and that's cool. I might actually think about doing that. I know personally you only know what you've been around, right? And so I've, been around the high school scene for a long time, the AFL scene for a long time. But I've always been curious of like how other coaches run their practices. Could you give me kind of a quick kind of rundown of like, how do you go about planning your practices week to week or day to day?
Yeah, we actually do a weekly plan, and we do a planning session every Monday with our coaches. So we have a very generic kind of, this is the framework of what we do: an hour of film before practice, and then 2 hours of practice followed by an hour and a half workout. That happens Monday to Wednesday. On Thursdays, we don't have our workout too close to the game. And then Fridays is a walkthrough, so it's done an hour earlier. And then we have a team meal. So that is set in stone, and it's very deliberate, so the players know exactly where they need to be at all times. Makes it a lot easier to then hold them accountable and themselves accountable. From there, what we do is we break it off into chunks. So some teams are getting into this like 7 and 8 minute chunk sessions where they try to get a lot of things in that time frame. We've actually looked at it, and we kind of set our practices up so that they match up well with what's happening on a game day situation. So as an example, we'll constantly do like team. We'll do a punt session, and then we'll get right into team. So you have that transition period. Throughout the course of our team periods, we'll implement things like, field goals or punt return or kick return, so that we get that game feel throughout the course of the week. Depending on the opponent, we'll adjust our inside run or our skelly periods to be increased or decreased depending on the game plan. And then we try to make sure that we rep count. So we're trying to beat our rep count every day. So as an example, if we have 40 minutes of team, we're trying to get anywhere from 50 to 52 plays in. And then the next day we're trying to get 53 and then 54. And it's not just about getting quantity, it's the quality mixed with the quantity that we're trying to get. And then in games, things tend to slow down a little bit for us, which is what we want. So it's just little things like that that we kind of alter on a weekly basis. But when it comes to our standard practices, you're always going to see an individual period. You're going to see special teams every day. You're going to see a review period, a team period, inside run and skelly. And then we have what we call a compete period, which is it can be anywhere from like Oklahoma drill to races. And then we have what we call spar drill, which is our screen pass and play actions kind of put together. So we kind of break everything down. And then we make sure we practice it against air and against team. We talk about it before we run it, and then we make sure we execute it. And then we film everything on a drone so that we can watch it before the following practice, and it's posted every night before 9:00.
That's huge. I like everything you said there. Everything's pretty set in structure and already set up to where I'm sure like players like if your players hear this, they'll say, "Yeah, that's typically how things go." And like it's very hard to assume miss things when things are so structured. But the one thing I really like from that is the rep count and like taking that into each session. We're like, hey, we got 25, 50 reps here yesterday. Let's beat that and try to squeeze in what you can because I find one thing I've always noticed just through football practice and everything is you lose time and reps in the transition period. And so I'm assuming now for players now try and beat that rep count, the transition has to be quick. It can't be something that we're walking to the next part and everything. Like you got to jog to your next part of the drill, next place of the field, and like get to it to beat those reps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. TJ, anything to add there? I believe he might be muted, but he'll edit that out. But just in closing, um, here, I'll let Teach. Did your honor is gonna mute and I mean I think you might be his mic is going a little weird. But yeah, just in closing, just want to wrap up here. Travis, appreciate your time again coming out and everything. And what are some upcoming dates for the team that players should hear about just to expect and to plan to be out in Okanagan for?
Yeah, our veterans report to Kelowna May 1st, and spring camp is May 3rd to 5th, which is coming up here pretty quick. And any of the guys that are listening, if they want to get an invite to spring camp, they just need to reach out and we'll fire over the registration and start to get things figured out.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we appreciate that, and for all those tuning in, like for all those high school players tuning in, like, hey, you had a chance out of here from a university program, junior program. Definitely do everything in your power to reach out. And Travis, we appreciate your time here from your busy schedule, being a coach and everything. And just really looking forward to seeing here this next upcoming season of football and everything. And I know junior football has a warm place in my heart because that was a place to where me as a player um, where I got to go develop lifelong friendships, and we all have our stories with junior football, which is so amazing. But yeah, I know. But with that being said, appreciate everyone tuning in. You can catch this episode here on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, wherever you catch your podcasts. We look forward to having our upcoming AFL episodes coming out here now. With this episode here, it does wrap up our like high school section here from those who were with us now from the high school time, high school playoffs and everything to now we're getting to the men's side of things. And you know what? I think this may even open up the door for possible junior junior pregame shows, little podcasts and everything. I love to get one of your players come on and just talk about the life just in the player's perspective. I'm sure you got some characters who'd love to get on the mic there, Travis.
Absolutely. You, sure.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Well, hey, appreciate your time again. We look forward to seeing you here next week. And everyone, take care. Drink your water, your vitamin D, all your good stuff that I know Tej loves to preach. And we'll see you guys here soon. And that's it. Most of us here will game plan for football, but won't financially plan out our lives. 1 in 4 Canadians are unable to cover an unexpected expense of over $500. This is due to Canadians currently having concerns over things like debt, cash flow concerns, retirement concerns, and possibly even job security. And for some of the young Canadians out there, they always wonder on what does it take or what does it look like to get started. My name is Omari Fraser, and I've been in the financial services industry for just shy of 10 years. I'm fortunate to be in a spot to where I'm able to help educate fellow Canadians on what you can do to move forward and get yourself in a spot that's going to take you to your financial goals. Feel free to reach out to me at 403-467-2306 or reach out to me on Instagram to get the conversation started and taking a look at what a financial plan looks like for you. Take care. Enjoy the episode.
TJ Sports Academy is a sports academy right here in Sylvan Lake, which I started 3 years ago. I run both basketball and football camps throughout the year. Spring basketball and spring football camps are opening for registration this Monday, February 26th. Both will start in April and run through May. This is a great opportunity if you're a youth age 6 to 18 or if you know someone that age to come and get trained by myself in a really safe, fun environment where we get better every single day. You can check out TJ Sports Academy on Facebook. Registration link will be made available Monday, February 26th for both spring camps.